Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the NAJ live in March. It's lovely to be with you all today. It'd be great if you could tell me who's here again, say hello, let me know in the chat. It's always great to interact with you all. And in celebration of it being March, I have got out my amazing mid-19th century aquamarine cross. So it felt like it was a very, very symbolic piece to wear. And it was nice to dress up. So living in leggings and things at the moment, it was nice to have an occasion to put some lipstick on. Oh, thank you. Here you all are. So looking forward to a great session today. So it's all about opening up the retail stores, which hopefully will set on a chain of events where we will all start to buy and sell and start the industry reviving again. So I'm going to talk a little bit from a personal perspective about opening again the retail business. Delighted to be joined today by Sarah Jordan, who is just such an amazing authority on marketing, but she tells it in such an engaging and realistic way that I understand. So I find her really inspirational. And I get to catch up with my dear friend Alexis. We'll be talking to her about her experience as well, and it'd be lovely to connect. I don't think I've spoken to Alexis since before the pandemic, so a great session for today. So yes, I'm here. We've also got Sarah's going to talk about how to really capture that demand. So it's going to be a really useful session. So talking about useful resources, these are the things that the NAJ have been providing updates on. There is the fantastic local jeweler campaign, and this is consumer facing. So this is a really amazing resource for all of those independent retailers out there who don't have that collective power. Well, thanks to the NAJ, we have that resource. So it's vital that everybody signs up their profile, because finding your jeweler will be crucial. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that during today. The third Valuers virtual event is going to be on the 8th of April. And we've also, you will see this online, the SME Brexit Support Fund now open for applications. So if you can use that resource, please apply online and get going. And then finally, the Federation-wide Business Barometer will be presented at the National Senate meeting. If you need any more information on this, please join the teams afterwards. Gary will be there, but also please use your resources online. Next month in April, we'll be talking about diversity and inclusion. And for me, over the last sort of year, I think this has been an issue that I've really had to raise more awareness of. So I'm really looking forward to this event. It's more and more important that we understand these issues. So it'll be a great opportunity to really investigate that. So let me talk to you a little bit about my situation, and of course part of my business is with my partner Philip Ainsworth, and I'm actually now relocated and based from Ainsworth Jewellers over in Blackburn. So David, if you could just put my slides up for me, thank you very, very much. So in my head, when I'm approaching the business, I think about my customers, and my customers are internal and external. So I have my team, my staff, but we also have the clients that come through the business. And the way that I break down my thoughts into the business, are I break my 4 pillars, as I call it: the store, the stock, the staff, and the customers. I think about all of those together. And in terms of those are the challenges, but what I'm wanting to do is, let's face it, we have to get back to being a transactional and profitable business. My goodness, we've all been on hold. Yes, we've had some great resources from the government, but we need to go back to making money again. That's the one side of it, but the other side is I can't wait to get back to customers, and we're in an industry of love and we get to share this wonderful experience with our clients, and I can't wait to be back doing what we all love so much. These are some of the resources that are available from the NAJ, and I'm going to interweave these to my presentation today. But things like that, this is content that's been available for a while, but my advice is to really, really look at refreshing your memories on it and going back over things. So you've got your store safe information. Commit to upholding those standards, and then there's also something that you can print off and put in the store, so it's again reassuring to both your staff and your end customers. So revisit your training. We'll talk about this more. Stay updated with the latest news. There's so many things that's going on all the time, but that information is disseminated, captured and presented in the coronavirus updates that are online. You want guidance on social distancing. My advice is we're going to redo all of our risk assessments and we're going to really walk through the store again. So there is a sample risk assessment embedded in the information that we're providing here. Refresh the posters that are around the store, so print them off again. You're going to look at your PPE. But again, think about that consumer support that we're getting through the NAJ. So update your Find a Jeweler profile and list your new opening hours. So let me think about the store. So, and when I'm talking about the store, I'm talking about both the digital and the physical store as well. Don't know about you guys, but we've not stopped. We've been in the store 2 or 3 times a week. We've taken the opportunity just on ourselves to redecorate. You can see the front door of Ainsworth there. All of those windows, the shelves, we've recovered them, we've painted them. We've given it such a good clean. Get out the feather dusters, get out the antibacterial. But with all of the stock being taken out of the windows, we've really managed to get in every single corner and really refresh it. But it is time to restock and redisplay. And I think a little bit like when you go back to opening again, I imagine that I want the store to look like an old friend who's had some very successful face surgery. So she's looking a little bit better. She looks like the break has done her good, but it is still familiar, but it's a slightly bit different. It's fresh, it's looking great, it's not looking tired. Again, as I mentioned, the signage, make sure you're compliant, that you've got all of the social distancing side up there, think about how many people you can welcome into the store, the face mask, the hand sanitizer, all of those things. So are you COVID friendly? And then again, check your security cameras, check details such as your insurance. We were mortified last time we hadn't done our fire safety, our annual check. It just had slipped by in the period we were during lockdown. So check your health and safety procedures as well. And your team, your staff, here we are in our matching wallpaper and branded masks. But I think we really have to think we've got to get to know our teams again. And you know what, their circumstances may have changed. There's an awful lot that's happened to people over the years, but over this last year. But I think we've got to think about their physical, emotional and very much their mental well-being. Simon from Stonehawk is doing some incredible work on understanding our teams and being there for them for this. But my advice is to think about using good open dialogue. And I'm very much adhere to the coaching model, which is about it's like listening first. It's about forming really effective relationships with your teams. So I've got all sorts of notes on this and a whole independent training course on it. You're welcome to have it if it's of any use to you. But it is about going through, making that time to form those relationships and to really ensure how they work. It actually perfectly morphs into sales training as well. So I hope it's something that will be really supportive. Provide training again. So think about training on social distancing, all the things that are there. So, it's really important to think about those great resources that we've got. Training has been a real lifeline for, this is our lovely Caroline, you can see a photograph of here. She finished her Jet 1, she started her Jet 2. But again, I think that it's training on things like I put here, your security guidelines, remembering what your protocol should be. But you know what? People's lives may have changed. So maybe their abilities to the time that they can come to work, how they're going to get home safely, all the things that are covered in the programs. But how are you going to manage annual leave for the rest of the year? But thinking about their lives and how that's going to impact you together as a team. And for your customers, I put here, communicate and connect again. So listen and learn. The world has changed ever so slightly. So what do we need to do as a business to meet our clients' needs? For me, it's about reassuring them about the standards that you're offering, how you're safely going to look after them, but rebuild that relationship again. Welcome and celebrate how wonderful that our stores are going to open again and we can give them that fantastic service that I know we all pride ourselves on. So remember our do's and don'ts. You know, we love serving people with drinks, and you know, like we can't do that at the moment. So be aware about what is appropriate. And just perhaps put yourself in the customer's shoes, literally from walking into the business, both online and physically. What does that journey look like? And have you thought about it from their perspective? And the stock, clean it. It's a great opportunity. Ours is all downstairs in the strong room. It's been handled again so many times, but now is the opportunity. We've got a couple of weeks left to really give everything a deep clean. I've put redisplay because display it in a slightly different way. I'm passionate about storytelling, and think about the trends, think about what's been selling, what's worked, about the emotional connection that we all have to jewellery, and why and how that's going to be more significant. Maybe even we did quite a lot of memorial jewellery, and thinking about that, that's a very sensitive way to display jewellery. I mean, jewellery is representing so many different things. So, you know, we did a section all on crosses and St. Christopher's, and we saw that did really, really well. So redisplay in a slightly different way. But the wedding market should be opening up again. Fingers crossed we can finally get married in June. But we're sitting on thousands of pounds worth of uncollected wedding rings. But hopefully that's a lovely story of hope for everybody. So the bridal market should slowly but surely come back. And if you think about it, all those people that wanted to get married last year and couldn't, weddings should be a big sector for the rest of the year. Doesn't look like we'll be traveling abroad. So again, think about all the things that people may want to make. I heard a lovely one, and it was something about somebody had bought a massive pair of big earrings from an auction, and they bought them, and it was called a purchase of hope, because she bought them. She wasn't going to go anywhere this year, but that was her investment in the future. So get your big earrings out, because if they look good on screen, they'll look good when we can finally go out as well. But I think events, we're going to have to work hard. You know, I think it's going to be pent up demand when we first go back. But what are we going to do to sustain that? We are planning Instagram lives. Can't even believe I even knew what one was before. But we're now planning that. We're planning various events that link with the local community, and events that also work with suppliers who, bless them, have been so supportive. And with our stock as well, to that end, we're really working in partnership with those suppliers who've supported us. We're desperate to give back to them because we haven't been able to necessarily replenish. We haven't been making a huge stock investment given the circumstances. But what can we do together to get that wheel turning? And I feel a huge debt of responsibility and respect for those suppliers who have worked with us. So all of that, the store, the stock, the staff and the customers, we've tied into a bit of a story. And I just wanted to share this with you. This is just what we're doing to hopefully bring our customers back and to tell something new. We hope it's bright, we hope it's beautiful, and we hope it's something different. So I'm just going to, well, actually, I'm not. The wonderful David is just going to play this little video for you. So if I could just have my slides back as well. Thank you, David. So this is just about using one mechanism to bring your customer, how one concept can work 360 across various different platforms. So as you can see there, we've got that little Adobe video that we're sending out. So it's all about a story in April. It's about diamonds. Now, I'm not making any judgments on lab-grown diamonds, but I've worked with this lovely Joanna Parks-Tonks, who is the entrepreneur behind Chelsea Rocks. But I don't know if you can see on the very left-hand side of your slide, you can see what our windows look like. We have a series of backboards. We are recovering all of the black backboards with this sort of shape, these sorts of designs, and we're going to fill the store and the windows full of actually flowers, the fresh, dried arrangements, but really bright, really vibrant. We're going to work with local florists and all sorts of different people. But we have I'm trying to show you this. We've had a postcard made that we're sending out to our clients, and we're welcoming them back and then giving them a little jeweled box of chocolates for them to enjoy. There's a bit of a story behind that. There was a webinar that we did with Pre-Stacked Chocolates all about Queen Victoria's jewel box, which is where these come from. We'll be doing Instagram lives. We've got special cards that have been generated. But what this is about giving the customers a reason to come into the store, something beautiful, something celebratory. There's also, it's a way of linking people and diamonds in a more cost-effective way, but it's a way of supporting somebody in the industry as well. So it's just thinking about what stories you've got. Maybe you have the same thesis that you can just present in a slightly different way. So please give me your feedback on what you guys are doing. We've got the talk in the meetings afterwards. In the bubbles we can talk about. But I'm now going to move on and talk to the lovely Sarah. Sarah, are you there?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. I can hear you now.
Took me a second. I had to press a few buttons. Hi, good morning, everybody.
Sarah, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
And how timely, because I find it so difficult as an individual who's hopefully a jewelry specialist, but to be an expert in marketing, it's kind of like the two are worlds apart. And just as I feel I'm getting to grips with one thing, something else comes along, and it's really, really challenging.
I feel exactly the same. Like I spend my...
Oh no, don't tell me that.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this is my career and I spend my life doing this, but it's changing all the time and it's getting more sophisticated all the time.
Yes.
And so I think anybody who tells you they've got all the answers is lying to you, but we can hopefully get a bit closer to having all the answers together, which is the hope.
Yeah, no, that's very, very reassuring. Sarah, I'll let you tell your story, and yeah, looking forward to this.
Okay, great. So hi everybody, good morning. I just thought I'd quickly introduce myself for anybody who doesn't know me. My name's Sarah. I'm the founder and director of the William Agency. My background is as a jewelry journalist. I was the former editor of Professional Jeweler magazine before I went freelance in 2016. And since then, I've been working across branded storytelling, copywriting, social media management, general marketing, digital marketing, all sorts of different things, almost exclusively for the jewelry industry, although we are fortunate to have some clients outside of the jewelry industry across finance, fashion, and a few other areas. So that's in a nutshell me. I'm here today to talk to you about post-lockdown marketing, and basically just hopefully inspire some confidence and talk about a few things that might be helpful as of April when stores can start to open. I've targeted this talk at retailers. I appreciate there are many different types of retailers. You might be a small one-store business, or you might have multiple stores. So I've tried to make my talk as inclusive as possible. However, as always, if you have any questions or you'd like to email me, I'm sure the team can put my email address in the comments, and you can always receive this presentation afterwards. I'm happy to send it through to you. Okay, so let's get started. I thought it would be very helpful, just first things first, to talk a little bit about the difference between a general marketing and a marketing campaign. Again, the point of this isn't to patronize anybody who may already know, it's just to sort of go over some of the fundamentals here. So general marketing is something that we should all be doing as business owners, for my business, for your business, for suppliers, for manufacturers, on a day-to-day basis. This is the sort of ongoing activity that keeps your business name and your brand name out there in the market. So that might be social media, blogging, updating your website regularly, writing some press releases, all of the things that I mentioned in the slide here. On the other hand, a marketing campaign is more focused. It's more targeted at a specific purpose. So this might be exactly what Helen was describing, for example, with her reopening campaign, with her floral graphics and the new backboards and all of that. That is a great example of a marketing campaign. That might be short term, but there's a clear purpose to it. So again, as you can see on the right hand side of this slide, these are some of the things I associate with marketing campaigns. And what's important is that they're measurable and that they have really strong goals. So in some cases, your goal might be for when you reopen that you want to reach a certain level of sales. And so how can your marketing allow you to get there? Yes, so I think it's about just making sure you might decide as a business owner that as of April 12th or whenever you're allowed to open, that you don't want to do a big marketing campaign, that you just want to tweak your general marketing, or you might decide that you want to do a full-on marketing campaign, which requires new graphics or new methods of talking to the customer or new messages or whatever that might be. The bulk of this talk is going to focus more on the marketing campaign side, but if you've got any questions about general marketing, as always, just drop me an email. Okay, so this is just something I wanted to cover briefly before we get into the nitty gritty of a post-lockdown campaign, and it's what actually does a good marketing campaign look like? This is such a surprisingly difficult question because it really depends who you speak to. In my opinion, a good marketing campaign is all of these things I've listed here. So it is consistent, it's good quality, it covers all touch points in some way. And by touch points, I mean your windows, your social media, your staff on the shop floor, your website, as many different areas as you have as a business, this campaign should be influencing. It's also easy to understand. I mean, we are quite fortunate in some ways in that a reopening is an easy to understand message. Our store has been closed and now it's open. That's a conveniently simple message to share with your customers. I also think that a good marketing campaign, as I said, is measurable and specifically it's relevant to your wider brand. A good example of this would be if you are a sofa company like SCS and you're always talking about how you've got sales on, for example, as in commercials, and then suddenly you set out a marketing campaign that says you've got the most expensive couch on earth and you're selling, you know, £1 million sofa. That doesn't really tie in with what we know of your brand and your brand values. So anytime you do a marketing campaign, always make sure that it's linked back to who you are as a business. Okay, so that's to me what a good marketing campaign looks like. Again, happy to send this. If you feel like I'm rushing, I'm happy to send this presentation to you. Okay, does a marketing campaign have rules? Yes and no. Firstly, don't let the term marketing campaign put you off. It doesn't have to be something that costs you thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds and takes you weeks and weeks to develop. It could last a week, it could last a year, it could last a month. You know, a marketing campaign is exactly how you make it and what you want it to be. It can be simple with just a few lines of copy and some great social media posts, or you might hire a graphic designer to come up with some new banners for your website or backboards for your store windows. So again, try not to be intimidated by the concept of a marketing campaign, because even if you're a small business, you can certainly make it work. As I say, whatever you choose to do, just make sure that it's high quality, consistent, measurable, and of course, a worthwhile investment of your time and resources. Because, you know, this idea that we all have all the time in the world, we know even during lockdown that we don't have unlimited time and we don't have unlimited resources. Okay. I thought it would be interesting just to highlight some of these articles that I've been reading in various different media outlets. I think this one was from the newspaper. Consumers looking to move on from COVID as confidence lifts. And this one from the Financial Times, which talks about UK consumer confidence is rising to the highest level since the start of lockdown. Now, by reading all of this, we might think to ourselves, oh, well, customers are ready to spend. Customers want to spend, 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 which could be true. But my gut reaction as a marketeer tells me to be cautious. This paragraph or this sentence is something I wrote for a recent article for Retail Jeweler magazine. I'm a columnist for Retail Jeweler magazine. I do a piece every month. And my column that's coming out in the May issue, I believe, contains this sentiment. What I'm saying here is that, in my opinion, if you're looking to do a marketing campaign as a post-lockdown reopening marketing campaign, going in all guns blazing with the sentiment that COVID is somehow over is jumping the gun and could have not the impact that you're hoping it to have. Just because the desire among consumers to spend, or consumer confidence, as those previous articles stated, is strong, that tells us nothing really about the emotional and the mental health of consumers, which I think is probably more tentative. Again, all of this is my opinion, folks. You may disagree, and that's totally fine. But this is my personal opinion, is that there are lots of grieving people out there, obviously. There's lots of frightened people. There's lots of people who still feel very vulnerable clinically and emotionally. So my suggestion would be, from a marketing perspective, to consider your tone of voice carefully, to choose your words carefully, and continue to reiterate your social distancing and precautions, not only to avoid the wrath of keyboard warriors who we know exist out there on social media, who are looking for any opportunity to troll and to just be vicious and awful, but also to acknowledge to your customers that you're still conscious of the wider state of the world, even though you clearly as a retailer want to sell. I think it's finding that balance. I think that's very important. And again, just to reiterate on this slide, marketing in a crisis. What do I mean by that? In some instances, like in politics, for example, this would be called optics. This is about how your brand or business is perceived by the wider world or your customer base or whatever that might be. Of course, if you're a small business, this might seem OTT. But I think some of the fundamentals of crisis marketing are really beneficial here. Be socially responsible. Consider the sentiment in your area. And as Helen said, consider all of your health and safety, your signage, all of that kind of, and continue to serve those still shielding. Some people may not have to shield, but they may feel like they want to shield until they get their second jab, for example. So continue to reiterate your click and collect and your free delivery services and anything that helps people feel more secure. Don't make any presumptions about spending. I think a lot of people would have saved money during this time period, perhaps, but equally, there's a huge amount of people who've lost their jobs or they're feeling very insecure. So again, I think it's about taking a measured approach. And by when I say make communication your priority, I mean have somebody manning your social media direct messages, your Facebook messages, your telephones, your info at inboxes. The amount of times I email info at or hello at retailer inboxes and never get a reply is fascinating. And I think it's something that we need to address. If you have to log in to a separate account to access your generic email from your business's contact us page, have that email redirected to your personal email or one that you check daily. Your webmaster or your web developer or whoever else can set that up for you. That might be a good solution to that. Okay, so let me just change my pages of notes. So what does the outlook for marketing campaigns post-lockdown actually look like? We all know that the world has changed, and these are the three key areas to me. I'm distilling this. We could go into a lot more detail, obviously. Digital first. Marketing is always going to be digital first. In my opinion, whereas the store used to be the sort of earth and then the digital website sort of was the moon satelliting around the earth, I think that's switched. So I think your website is now your earth and your store is your satellite. I think that doesn't necessarily mean that your store can't still be hugely successful. But what I think it means is that your store has to become, and we've been speaking about this for a number of years, this isn't a new concept, but your store has to become the place where your brand values and your brand experience really comes to life. And I think that will be even more the case post-lockdown. I think Post-lockdown marketing will become more tone conscious, and by that I mean your tone of voice, the way you speak to people, how you include people. Again, I really think the April talk on diversity inclusion will be really fascinating and will help to begin to develop this new tone of voice that your marketing may or may not need in the future. And I also think marketing will be emotion led. You know, I was just saying to the NAJ team before we came on this call that my twin sister has just had a second child, and I haven't had a chance to see that child or see my other niece, or, you know, and I think that emotional connection that we're all missing is going to be a strength for jewelers, because we're used to targeting people based on emotions, engagements, weddings, gifts. And so I think we have the strength there. I think it's just about using that talent to our advantage. And in this case, it could be friendships and people who haven't seen each other for a long time. I think all of these emotion-led marketing strategies are going to be really useful and really important for independent jewelers. Okay, so your post-lockdown marketing. I think that as a retailer, of course, we all want to get back to transactional, making money, making profits, bringing in the sales. 100%. There is no doubt that that is our ultimate goal. And it's my goal for my clients as well. However, before you start pushing products, I think there are some important things to consider, especially between now and April when your store is allowed to open. Is your web presence up to date? Do you have all of your return to business social media planned? Are you ready to communicate your social distancing? What about your on-page SEO? So this is your keyword optimized pages on your website. Could they have a second look? Do you feel like the text on your website is up to date and as strong as it could be? Excuse me. Could you do some short-term paid advertising on Google, for example? And could you do a short-term postal marketing campaign? I'm a big fan of postal marketing campaigns for jewelers. I've written a column on this for Retail Jeweler. I know that's something that Helen has just mentioned that she's going to be doing as well. They are surprisingly affordable. Even if you get a graphic designer to come in and design your postcard for you, or you do it yourself, printing costs can be really affordable too with independent businesses who are printers. Rather than going through any of the digital companies, I would always recommend a private printing service, and I can put you in touch with some good examples if that's required. Yes, so I think all of these things are going to be really important to consider before you start opening the doors and pushing sales. Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, that we're ready to open the doors. We are counting down the days now until we can open the store. What would be my advice as a marketing consultant to you as a business owner? Here we go. So my first piece of advice would seem incredibly counterintuitive, but here we go. Just forget marketing for a second and think about your strongest weapon, which is your people. Our entire nation has been starved of company, conversation, interaction. There's a lot of loneliness, and loneliness is becoming endemic. And so therefore, to some extent, your strongest weapon and your strongest word of mouth advertising and marketing tool when you open your store is chatty, socially strong customer service staff. So people who are really good at small talk, get them on the shop floor if you can, because small talk and engaging people and making them feel welcomed and you know, having a good strong conversation with somebody that might last 10, 20, 30 minutes without this desire to sell instantaneously is going to be some of your best word of mouth marketing, because those people are going to go home, they're going to speak to their friends and family on the phone perhaps the next few days and said, oh gosh, they were so welcoming, they were so nice, I had such a lovely chat with them, they were so interesting, they told me some of their stories from lockdown. So that, I think, is going to be a strong weapon. Secondly, of course, we want to start selling. So here is my advice for things that you can update as a business owner. Firstly, Google My Business. It's a really underutilized tool. On this slide, I apologize, you can't quite see it properly. Top left, the box that starts with COVID-19 update. These are all screen grabs from my business's Google My Business, just so I can demonstrate the different areas that you can use. you can make posts on Google My Business under the following categories, as you can see in the top left: COVID-19 updates, ad offer, ad update, ad event, or ad product. You should be adding new things all the time to your Google My Business profile using these update functions. Secondly, if you look to the right, you can see where it says the William Agency, marketing agency. It says products there, which is highlighted. You can add your best sellers to your Google My Business profile, which at this point in time might be wedding rings, because we know that the bridal market might be coming back. And then at the very bottom of the page, that is the menu items that appear on the photos section of your Google My Business profile. Add lots of different photos, and interior photos of your store, exterior. Add some new ones that demonstrate your COVID safe measures. Maybe add some pictures of your displays and your products. So really, and your team members. So really fill that, all of those different elements of your Google My Business page. The reasons for this is that Google My Business is convenient for customers. It appears on local map searches. It's really good for Google search engine visibility. And it's just a really convenient tool for enhancing your digital presence. So I would say that's one thing that you can do straight away that's really going to help. Secondly, social media. Of course, there are so many iterations of business on the high street, and I apologize that I can't talk to your specific business directly, because in some cases, social media is being done by the business owner themselves, by a member of the sales team who's got access to an Instagram account. It could be a dedicated social media employee, or it could be a third-party agency. My opinion on social media is that you need to be prepared in advance, and you need to prioritize people ahead of your reopening. Now, this might mean using some creative license. Creative license can always be construed as being a bit disingenuous, but in my opinion, it's not. It's about being sensible. What do I mean by this? Take some videos tomorrow or the day after that in preparation of opening your store, opening the door and pretending it's April the 12th and saying, we're ready, we're open, welcome, we'd love to see you, we'd love to hear from you, and film that tomorrow. You do not have time to do that on the day that you actually open. Do it in a COVID safe way now. Prepare all of those assets in advance. I can't see how your customers would know that you created that video in March rather than April, but it would save you so much effort. So again, be prepared and get everything ready in advance. Social media is all about planning and strategy. It's not about spontaneity. You shouldn't be taking a picture on the day necessarily and posting it on the day. Of course, in some cases that might work, but usually if you can work 4 weeks in advance at a minimum, that's always going to be helpful. Another really underutilized resource for social media is LinkedIn. At the William Agency, we run a LinkedIn consultancy service where we run people's business LinkedIn accounts for them. It's a hugely underutilized tool, not just for B2B marketing, but for B2C marketing as well. So have a look at your LinkedIn. Have you got a company page? Are you posting regular updates there? All of that, really important. Here are some examples here of pictures from businesses' Instagram accounts of them and their teams standing outside the front, opening the doors. And a lot of these posted really high performance for these different businesses. So consider taking some of these types of pictures and preparing them in advance. Okay, so another thing to think about is what needs updating. You've got 3 weeks, a little less than 3 weeks to really get things up to speed. So your delivery information, your terms and conditions, your homepage text, your homepage banner images, your opening hours. Gosh, there's so many things that might need updating for your business. What about if you offer piercings? And do you have an update on there as to, whether you can open that service? Can you inform customers of that? So when did you last update your social media bios and your about us storytelling on your website and on your profiles? And Helen spoke about these in a really succinct way, so I won't go into too much detail, but your last minute wins, such as new outdoor signage, your window displays, your postal marketing campaigns, Maybe your local newspaper might be doing a stores reopening feature. Could you get in on that? Could you email them and ask them to come and take a picture of you, for example? So really consider how much you could update and really feel like you've got the best platform available or the best springboard available to reopen. Okay, again, email marketing is another thing that I would be really focusing on. It would be great to send an email on April 12th in England, for example, just saying that we're open. Perhaps you've got a promotion that you want to focus on, so you could include that in your newsletter. I would focus on services personally, because I think a lot of people will have cleared out all of their old drawers, perhaps found some gold, perhaps found some old jewelry pieces that they'd like to have remodeled. Perhaps they've found some pieces that they want to get valued, maybe. So I think focus on some of your services would be helpful. How can somebody book an appointment with you? You know, is that clear on your website? Do you have a chat function where they can quickly ask you a question? So yes, I would be thinking about writing your email marketing right now, getting all of that prepared and ready to send on April 12th. And then you might want to send a follow-up email a week later, and then another one 2 weeks after that, just saying we've been open for a month. It's been great to see you. It's been great to have you back. You know, here's our summer offers or whatever that might be. So again, plan all of that in advance. And also similarly, do your shop floor staff know your marketing strategy? So if you decide in your newsletter that you're going to do I don't know, 20% off a particular necklace or whatever that might be, have you passed that on to your staff? And are they aware enough to know what your marketing strategies have been across social? Do they know what pictures you're posting across social? Do they know that you're focusing on flowers for the month of April, for example, or whatever it might be? That communication isn't just about communicating with your customers, it's about communicating internally. Okay, so a quick thing on post-lockdown promotions. If you're doing a marketing campaign and you're thinking about what you're going to do to drive people through your door, you might consider doing some sort of promotion, which I'm sure a lot of you have considered. Helen's, for example, was giving that lovely box of chocolates, for example. That's a great promotion, and it's a great little added extra that people can receive. Or you might choose to do a gift with purchase or a discount on a second piece of jewelry when they purchase another piece of jewelry, whatever it might be. I'm not here to tell you what your promotion should be, but I can help you to know some best practice for making that promotion work. So let's say, for example, that you're doing a free gift with purchase or a discounted piece with purchase. Make sure that the storytelling and your reason for doing that promotion has a purpose and it's tied into the wider your wider storytelling. So it might be, for example, buy something for yourself as a post-lockdown treat and then pass the love along to a friend or a family member you haven't seen for a while. That might be the purpose of your promotion. Or there might be a charity tie-in. So you're saying, look, we're giving back to all of those people who've perhaps been struggling or grieving over the past 12 months, whatever that might be. If you're going to do a promotion, make sure you have all of your images and assets ready to go. So do you have your Instagram templates ready? Do you have some images for your website ready? Do you have an image for your newsletter ready? So yes, all of these things are worth considering, but just make sure that the purpose, the reason you're doing it, feels authentic. Or you might choose to focus your promotions around services. So free jewelry cleaning for every customer who comes in our first week of opening, or whatever that might be. Again, acknowledge the purpose. Have you been going through all of your jewelry box and found jewelry that needs a bit of TLC during lockdown? You know, let's get enjoying all of our jewelry again, or something along those lines. Always be clear on the terms and conditions. Fix a time period. So it might be you have to come into store between X date and X date, and we will clean your jewelry for free. And again, communicate this on the shop floor with your staff. Make sure that they are really aware of the types of promotions you're doing, the storytelling and the purpose and the authenticity behind it. What we would hate, and I know this probably wouldn't happen en masse, but let's say there's one customer who comes in and says, I've seen that you're offering free jewelry cleaning on your for a week after we've opened, and your staff member says, oh yeah, it's because we're desperate to get people through the door, which instantly takes people's mood down. It suggests that a campaign doesn't come from an authentic place. It suggests it's just about making sales. And of course, the whole purpose of it is to make sales. We know that, but it's about making sure that you moderate your tone, think about your language, and that applies just as much to your staff as it does to your written copy, to your social media posts, all of the above. Okay. And last few slides, and then I'm going to answer your questions. Make the most of your time. You know, I think we've all been trying to make the most of our time during lockdown. It's been a strange old time. The last 12 months have been utterly bizarre, but now is a case of final, I say final, let's hope so, final push to the finish line of when we can open stores. So look at your old blog content. Can that all be recycled and updated? Are the pictures pixelated? Could you do with swapping them out? What about your product descriptions? If some of them are one line only, then you need to go back in and add more text. Are there any links in your product descriptions to other products that your customers might also enjoy? Do you have related products associated with your product descriptions? Do you have metadata and alt tags on your pages? These are SEO terms for metadata is the text that Google sees. So your customers don't necessarily see it, Google sees it. Alt tags, these were originally designed so that blind users of social search engines could find the images, that they could understand the images that were on the page. So, but since then, Google has really started to take alt tags, which is basically a description of your image, as another way of ranking your content. So again, are your alt tags up to date? Does your contact us page work for you? For example, if you're based in York, you could say that we're an hour's drive from Harrogate, and we are, you know, a stone's throw from the Shambles, and we are really close to York Minster. These are all great terms. They're essentially keyword-rich terms that you're throwing into your contact us page, which would be great. Oh, hello. And then consider your on-page SEO, spruce up your social media, add a chat function, consider user-generated content. When people tag you in a post on Instagram, for example, are you using that content to its best ability? Are you sharing it? Are you thanking the customer? Are you replying to comments and direct messages speedily enough? Oh, and quickly, before I get asked to stop talking, Instagram recently changed its algorithm. Just thought I'd throw this in quickly as a bit of information. It now prioritizes saving posts and direct messages over and above likes and comments. What does that mean for you? If you go on your Instagram account, when you're looking at a picture that's been posted, in the bottom right-hand corner of a picture, there's a little bookmark symbol. If you tap that, it means you're saving a post. And then when you go into your saved posts as a user, that post will appear there. Instagram is now prioritizing saved posts as a measure of the success and performance of your Instagram. So ask your staff, ask your friends, ask your customers. If they love a post, save it. That would really benefit you. And again, direct messages, the amount of direct messages you receive and how you respond to them is now prioritized over and above likes and comments as a method of essentially the success of your Instagram account. So just bear that in mind. That only happened recently. Okay, finally, last few words of general advice. Quality over quantity, people over products, patience over pestering, soft sell over hard sell, conversation over conversion, and build confidence over concern. We all want to sell. That is the goal. But I think we need to do that in a way that's wrapped up in a more holistic, concerned, friendly, and conversation-led approach, because we need to acknowledge the state of the nation. Again, if you have any questions for your specific business, you can get me in these ways. You can email me or you can ring me. Okay. Whew.
Sarah,
Good
Oh,
timing.
thank you. That was amazing.
No
I'm going to
problem.
give people a bit more time to put some questions up. I have so many of my own, if that's okay.
Sure, that's
Every
what I'm here
word of
for.
that, every word of that resonated. I think first of all, I just love the sensitivity, and I think you're so adept at understanding kind of like the mood of the nation and how we can engage appropriately with our customers. So thank you for that.
No problem.
I agree, and there's so many things I just oh, Rebecca Smith is just saying, can you just put the last slide up? I mean,
Yes.
Rebecca, just so you know, all these slides will be available if you like. I'm certainly going to ask for a copy of them, so that's while we're talking. I just wanted to share something with everybody to pick up from what Sarah was talking about. One of the reasons we chose flowers was because of the symbolism and storytelling and the metaphors of the language of flowers. So we felt that this offered hope, but we also will dedicate one window to forget-me-nots, which again, as a jeweler's, links to turquoise. So I'm actually wearing my turquoise earrings today and a turquoise ring, very deliberately, because I feel at the moment it is a year and it's about that reflection and remembrance. So I just wanted to share that with people in the hope that that was something they could also engage with. And I've found as well that we've trained staff on thinking about how to have sensitive conversations. You know, when somebody's lost somebody, a piece of jewelry, like you were saying, Sarah, is so relevant for somebody. It's such a metaphor of remembrance. So it's a wonderful way to offer that service and reassurance for somebody.
I think so. I mean, obviously, a lot of this is my opinion, and I'm sure that there are some businesses out there that maybe, they've got their own ideas of what would work for their specific customer base. But I think in general, any marketing that we do, whether general marketing or marketing campaigns, over the next minimum 3 to 6 months, have to acknowledge the fact that people are either worried, stressed, scared, grieving, or even the opposite. They're so desperate to get out into the world that they're now thinking, right, I've got this £500 in my hand. I want to go and spend that down the pub. I don't want to spend that. So what I think it's just about not letting our natural and very understandable desire to want to sell products to affect the strategy and the intelligent strategy that needs to go behind marketing over the next 6 months. Because I think we can still sell and demonstrate that sensitive marketing at the same time if we think about it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because we very much can focus on services as well. We've had so many messages from people, their watch batteries have gone. So it's the smallest thing, but if that gets somebody into the store and we're reconnecting with them, but we saw repairs increase a great deal as well. So yeah, we are there for people on these services, which is fantastic. So just a little note as well, Sarah talked about how important postal campaigns are. So I'm really glad that you like what we're doing. A small thing is we always try to handwrite them. It sounds ridiculous and it's more timely, but we get far more response from something that we've written than printed. So ours is a mixture of both, but we've always got that time, that option to write something quite personally as well. Sarah, do you like that?
Yeah, I think postal marketing is really underappreciated, because I think, and especially during lockdown, we've all spent more time at home than we ever have done ever. And I think yes, of course, I think the big concern with postal marketing is that it all gets bundled up into the inevitable spam that we all receive on our doormats every morning, and it gets thrown away. But I actually don't think that's the case, because I think chances are, if you're targeting it to the right postcodes, people have heard of your business, so they look at it and think, they're the people from the high street, or they're the people from down the road, or that's the first thing. So there's that recognition there. The second thing is, if you design it well and you design it good quality and you print it on good paper, it feels better than half the spam that people receive in the post. And secondly, if you pair that with a nice message or a promotion or a stop by to get 10% off your next purchase, or whatever that might be, you're immediately making people go, I'm going to save that. Now, maybe people who save that bit of paper won't use it, but even if 10% of the people do, that's still potentially 10% more sales than you would have received otherwise. And they can be cost effective. I think one of the questions actually that came up in the comments was about, could I recommend a printing company?
Yes.
I use a company called Futureprint, who are based in Northampton. I have done for my clients in the past, and I continue to do so. They produce posters, in-store signage, postcards, business cards. I've used them for a variety of my clients. How that works is the William agency designs and does the graphic design and does the copywriting, and then we send all of that to the printers, and that's then sent to the retailer. So I recommend those guys as printers. I like working with them because they are real people. They're not based over the internet. You can ring them, you can pick, they can pick up the phone and you can discuss that with them. And then the second part of that question, just to answer it, was about recommending an SEO company. I would be remiss if I didn't recommend myself. But it really depends what kind of SEO you're looking for. It is a complex field full of lots of different types of businesses. You could have retainer SEO, which is done on a monthly basis. You could have on-page SEO, off-page SEO, technical SEO. You could have blogging and content marketing-led SEO. So, and there are different agencies that do all different things. So my advice to that person who asked that question, I apologize, I haven't got it up at the minute, would be to either email me or get the NAJ to pass your email on to me, and I can make some
Thank you, Sarah.
recommendations.
That's Kay that's asked the
Oh, hi,
question. And
Kay.
Gary's also given some resources as well, but we'll
Great.
make sure the two are connected. I just have a couple of other questions for you as well.
Okay.
Sarah, you mentioned the importance of any campaign being sort of measurable. How do you do that? It's so hard in marketing. What sort of guidance can you offer for that?
Yeah, so the first things first would be, you can't measure something that you don't know the purpose of. So the first thing is to know the purpose. And by that, I mean, let's say, just for convenience here, I'm going to do a 10% off a necklace as a promotion or whatever it might be. Your goal might be, I want to sell 100 of those. That could be as simple as, that could be your simple goal for that marketing campaign. Or it could be something more complex, like I'd like to see a percentage increase in website traffic, or I'd like to see 100 new followers on Facebook. The only way you can measure something is to know what you want to achieve in the first place. And I think make a couple of good, solid KPIs, and then come up with a time frame that you want to achieve that in, a realistic, feasible, logical time frame. There is no point saying in 48 hours I want 1,000 new Facebook followers. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So, like, come up with a measurable, a decent time frame, some strong KPIs, and then at the end of that time period, measure the effectiveness, because you know what you wanted to achieve. So then you can see how close you got to achieving that. And if you didn't get to achieve that, don't see that as a failure, see it as a learning opportunity. So, okay, you only got 50 new Facebook followers rather than 100. Of those 50 Facebook followers, when did they follow you? Which posts performed the most successfully? Was it, if it was a post about a birthstone, maybe the next month you could do 3 posts about birthstones rather than 1, and see if that helps. Yeah. Marketing is a constant learning process. Anybody who tells you that there's an A and a B and that's it, and then you've won is lying to you. It's a constant learning process.
That's brilliant advice, Sarah. Last one, because this is so good. You talked about consistency, and from a very personal experience, I find it hard to get the time to be consistent. So then I understand there are various tools, and I just found out an app called Appy, is it APPHI, which helps you upload content on social media at once. Can you give some advice though, because it's so hard for retailers if you haven't got a marketing specialist or you're on your own? Yeah. How can you upload content consistently?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult. If you're a one-man band or you're a business owner who's trying to, do everything, it's so challenging, and I completely acknowledge that. I think the first thing to do is, yes, use a scheduling tool, something like Hootsuite or Iconosquare or Sprout Social. These are all really helpful tools. However, the most important thing is preparing your content in advance, because it takes 5 minutes to post an Instagram post, 3 times a week, if you've got that content ready to go. What takes the time and what makes it stressful is when you don't have the content and you're hunting around trying to find something. So let's say today's day one. In 30 days time, try and build up enough content to have for the following 3 months. So May, June, July. And then at the start of May, start preparing for August, September, October. Always try and be 3 months ahead. Now, that might require, and this is something I recommend to all my clients too, hiring a professional photographer, getting them to come to your shop and spending the entire day there taking pictures. Because that might not cost that much in the grand scheme of things, but that could be 6 months of content. You know, we do that for one of the clients we work with who's based in the Jewelry Quarter. In March of last year, March 2020, me and a colleague went into their facilities in the Jewelry Quarter with 2 iPhones and a camera. And we took hundreds of photographs, hundreds, and we're still using them now, a year later.
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely something that needs to be considered. We just, as an industry, we haven't yet learned the power of assets and images. And I think that is a slow lesson that we're all learning, but I think it's important. And also, let's say you take a picture of a bespoke piece or a one-off piece or a unique piece, and before you've had a chance to put it on social, it's sold. That doesn't mean you can't use that picture still.
Yeah, yeah. Sarah, this is brilliant advice.
No problem.
And also, we invested in it's funny, we're doing the same thing. We've got a photographer coming in as soon as we're allowed to. But do you know, I never thought about taking more pictures around the store as well. So that's really good advice. So thank you.
No problem.
You so much. I think just another question came in about the scheduling tools. So thank you. I think you've addressed that. But you're right, being prepared. And I love the idea that today's day one and we can get the content management sorted. So Sarah, this was brilliant. I think there's going to be other things that you're staying around for the teams. Is that right?
Yes, I'm happy to answer any more questions in the bubbles.
Thank you. I learned so much. I just loved hearing from you. You reassured me and inspired me in equal measures. So thank you so much.
No problem.
I think we're all the same. I think we all want the slides. So those will be really, really resourceful.
Yeah, well,
really helpful.
The NAJ team has got that presentation, so I can either send it to people directly, or I'm sure the team can send it to you too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. We'll speak to you in a little bit.
No problem.
If I could just have my slides back for 1 minute, I do just want to cover some other things that the NAJ is looking at, and then we get to the NAJ slides, and then we get the pleasure. She's made a bit of a starring appearance, but we will also get to speak to. No, I've done it all. I'm sorry, I'm actually ahead of myself. I do apologise. It's now time to speak to Alexis again. Sorry, Alexis, are you there, my love? I can hear you, yeah, and I just briefly saw you. That was very magical when you appeared.
I know. There we go.
I don't. Oh,
hello.
Here she is. Hello, Alexis.
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Helen?
Oh, really good. Thank
Brilliant.
you. Sort of excited and nervous, I think, possibly in equal measures about what we're waiting to go back to.
Yeah.
But
yeah, me too.
And delighted. Yeah, you feel the same. Delighted to talk to somebody else with as curlier hair as me. So we're doing we're doing well there.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the hairdresser, I have to say.
Yeah, but tell me, how have you been? What have you been doing?
Well, it's been a strange year. We live in the town that we have the shop in, so it's very much our home, and it has been very strange, having that time closed and seeing your own shop completely looking almost derelict, because the first lockdown we had to take everything out the window. It seemed like the right thing to do, and walking around town, it being so quiet. But we've actually had a good year in terms of business. I've been really cheered along by the local customers, people in our town, friends, unbelievable the number of friends who'd offered on and off to come and help with things, and just move along and do things together. And our local customer base have been amazing, you know, really trying hard to shop local and do click and collect.
Yes.
In the first lockdown, I was driving around town in my car, dropping things off for people's birthdays and things like that. So yeah, we're okay.
Yeah.
I think as well, not having our staff in, I think that was probably the hardest part for them and for us, you know, feeling very disjointed. And it's nice in this lockdown that we've had them all sort of part-time, or most of
Yeah,
them.
that's there's a family really, aren't
Yeah,
they? It's
very
yeah,
much so.
it's so important. And I mean, a bit like you, I mean, when we were open, we were doing really well.
Mm.
I mean, obviously that's been negated by the weeks that we've been closed, but hopefully that's a hopeful message for everybody. So what have you been doing to get ready to reopen again this time?
Well, in November, I kind of learned the lesson that not to completely leave the business, you know, to keep chugging along really. And as you were just talking about in the last seminar, we've been working on campaigns. We've been trying to, you know, connect with our customer base through social media, but also through MailChimp. You know, I think that customer base that we have built up over the last 15 years, it'll be 15 years since I started my business.
No, 50, wow.
April.
Yeah.
Feeling old.
Yeah.
That has been really essential, you know, keeping, and actually I've had people say to me, oh, it's been so nice just hearing from you regularly, and really love the stories and the, you know, just feeling like we're still connected, you know, which I found quite strange in a way, because you don't think jewelry can connect you with other people in quite that way. When you sell something to someone for a personal reason, you do, but not on a sort of daily, weekly basis. You don't imagine that that's something that would matter to people, but it definitely has.
I always think, you know, jewelry has been worn since the dawn of time because of its significance to us as to either our status or symbolism, or really as a symbol of love. You know, so it has such powerful meanings, doesn't it? And your jewelry, Alexis, is so beautiful. So we think about those metaphors of hope. I mean, that's very much told, I think, in the stories of your jewelry.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes you go through these processes with people who commission work or even just buy something, and you've actually heard something of their personal life, so they feel connected to you through that piece of jewelry. So I didn't really realize that would be a thing, and actually it has been this last year. So yeah, we've been keeping contacting with our customers, but in terms of the bricks and mortar, yeah, I've been in hoovering, dusting. Yeah, you just don't realise. I mean, after the first lockdown, my store manager, bless her, said to me, "Oh yeah, I'll just knock that off. I'll just smash that on Monday morning, the day we were opening." I was like, "That's not possible." It took 2 weeks to get ready. You don't realise how much the dust and
that's it.
And I think if people come in and it feels a bit dusty and a bit, that's not what they want. They want this lovely. I mean, I almost think I might fill it with a few fresh flowers on the first week, just to make it feel airy and fresh and spring-like. Doing a lot of cleaning.
I was, perhaps it was, I was putting myself on it, but I was thinking, you know, I feel like I've aged over this. I mean, I think that is a phenomenon, isn't it? That we've all aged exponentially over this period. And, you know, I wouldn't ever do it, but I'm starting to think maybe a bit of surgery would be necessary. And I think about that metaphor for the store, and I don't want it to look tired. I want it to look as fresh as if it was opened yesterday.
I think so, and I was actually quite grateful in a way for having the opportunity to give it some TLC. So I was going to pay someone to do the outside. I actually did it before the first one. I got up on my ladders and did the front of the store. But the other thing that's been amazing, and I would recommend to anyone, is this is your big opportunity to make a wonderful window that normally get interrupted by customers. You don't have much time, and I've just spent about 3 days gluing plastic flowers onto branches for the winter.
Yeah. So is that linked to a campaign? Do you have any sort of marketing initiatives that you're attaching to that?
Generally, we try and keep it personal, and I haven't, you know, to be honest, I haven't thought too much about big marketing campaigns. It's like you say, that you finding that tone with your customers is so important, and actually I've chosen to keep it quite personal.
That's lovely.
You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with going for a big marketing campaign, but I think I want to sort of feel how it's going to be. Because also Lewes is a very small town. And what's interesting is a lot of people who live here commute to London. And in this time, actually, people have been here. They are shopping here, they are living here. So I really feel for shop owners who are in big cities, because they can't have that connection with their customers. Whereas actually I've got more people here who are normally not here. So that personal connection is more important. You know, seeing me in the window, I mean, the dogs come with me and sit in the window while I do stuff. And there's been lots of little sort of chats, you know, through the window when I've been outside. And, you know, so just trying to get the personal content up, trying to connect with you.
It's funny. Our business is off pitch, and we've said for years we should be moving it, and now we're like, actually, it's one in our favour. You know, you can park outside, and we're nowhere near the city centre.
No, you're right.
And it's a win. That's become a win, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're such a personable person, but how do you make that connection with your clients so personal?
I think really through social media, but also, you know, that sort of replying to every single email and being, you know, really reassuring. You know, it's very easy to become disconnected. And, you know, I've had a lot of to and fro's with customers. The MailChimps are very directed at getting contact with us, you know, talking about getting, you know, bespoke jewelry made. Because that's the other thing. There's been a lot of people buying online over this time, and obviously online sales have gone up tremendously and click and collect, but that isn't going to continue in the same way. People want to come back into store, so that's really the main way. I mean, if you don't have a massive mailing list, obviously I think it's important to sort of try and target your local audience, but the fact that we do now have a big mailing list, I think we've thrown a lot of concentration into that. And I kind of sense that I'm not, in terms of campaigns, I want to start something as soon as we're open, because people are trying, you know, I was listening to Radio 4 the other day, and they were saying that people will find it as hard to come out of lockdown as they did to go into lockdown.
Absolutely.
So it's a softly approach, I think, for me.
And I think that's so right, isn't it? I don't know about you, but when you have a customer, I always think I have to listen first before I start to tell. And I think that's what you're doing. You're saying, I'm going to listen, find out what food's like, and then see what's the most appropriate.
Yeah, because I do think it's good. I've seen some posts from, you know, fellow designers and shop owners who've thanked customers on social media for all their support and told them how much it means to them. And I think I think it's very easy to be very corporate and think, you know, and have that slight distance. But I think now's the time to say, you know, talk about the fact that you're a family-run business, or talk about the fact that you love your local area, or, you know, or what you've been doing in lockdown. There is also that barrier, isn't it? You don't want to get too personal, but I do think that connection, that gratefulness, that's a really lovely thing to do.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Sarah was saying, wasn't it, about being authentic and being you. And it's funny, I've tried to get some advice on social media, and everybody tells me just do it yourself, own it, and have that, you know, general authenticity to it.
Yeah, and I agree with Sarah. I think that having that bank of photos, that's an amazing thing to do. And I do have a lot of photos, but even I benefited, you know, when I had people come in, like when I was using Facets PR, they came in and they just took so many photos, and I'm still using those.
Great.
You know,
yeah. So can you tell us about your store? We don't have those photographs. Could you describe it to us?
Okay,
I've got a great image of you in the window.
Yeah, I was going to be in my shop, but I had tech problems, so I'm at home. But okay, so the Lewes is a market town, and it's also the county town of East Sussex. It's got a castle, it's got medieval buildings, so it's quite an old rustic town. So my shop, the foundations were built about 1700, so it's quite an old building. So when we took it on, it's got a beautiful Georgian double front as well. So when we took it on, I wanted to be in sympathy with the town, because again, Lewes is a very militant town with a very strong self-identity. So I didn't want, you know, people will often post on local forums, oh, another shop that's selling stuff no one can afford. It's not for the locals.
Great keyboard warriors.
Yeah, and so actually I wanted to do something that Lewes people would be like, I really like that. So we got brilliant signs to do this incredible glass fascia that's very much like Victorian, you know, the glass signs with gold inlay.
Lovely. Beautiful.
And it really is beautiful. If one day when we finally close, that's coming home with me, I can tell you. And it's wooden floors. We exposed 2 sides of the walls with brick and flint, and reused some of the parts of the old walls with some old Georgian paneling, and we had it cleaned up and used it. So, and it's full of lots of fake plants because we can't. It's too dark on our side of the high street to have real ones. So we've got. It feels very sort of leafy and natural. And you travel around the shop in a sort of circle. There's enough space for wheelchairs and buggies and things to go around.
So you've really thought about the customer journey, but not only that, your local customers as well, which I think is really
And then behind, there's sort of 2/3 back. There's like a big window made of an old sash window, and behind that is the desk, and you can come for commissions there, and a little workbench for me to tinker on, although I hardly ever get to sit at it these days.
Yeah. But in terms of commissions, you mentioned bespoke before. Has that become more of a part of your business?
I would say, interestingly, bespoke, if you look at the figures, would be more the biggest seller. But in terms of the numbers, I've actually been quite surprised by the silver collections. I think I was actually very surprised and pleased actually during this whole lockdown how much, you know, people were just treating themselves, and you don't treat yourself to a bespoke commission so much during a lockdown. I mean, when you're trying to do a commission with someone, you can use Skype, you can use lots of different ways. But you know, of all people, Helen, how hard it is to see a coloured stone on a computer.
Yes.
So you're having to have that conversation, take loads of photos, but even so, you know, holding it in your hand, holding it, you know, I let customers go up to the window with it. You know, you've got none of that, you know, even though you're trying to. So I've got a lot of appointments coming up for when lockdown is over. And we have done quite a few commissions, but they have been very labour intensive in terms of photos and videos and conversations. So the silver's been important. I think people have wanted to treat themselves to little things. You know,
yeah, that's lovely.
And sending gifts to one another, you know, in lockdown.
Yeah. It's interesting how it fits into the bigger sort of picture, really. I mean, from a personal basis, yes, we've been doing more higher end pieces, but I think what's changed for us is in the business, there were a lot of generic silver brands. They've done nothing. And I think that's what's different. And I think that's shifted online and shifted to discounting, whereas that's so lovely to hear that your silver pieces, which I think have got that more authenticity to them and storytelling, that's what people want. That's really lovely.
Yeah, things like our robins, you know, people British people often associate robins with lost ones, you know, because robins appear in your garden, and people often say to me, oh, since my dad died, I've noticed this one little robin in my garden. I've sold so many of those because people want to remember. And I think that's another way you can connect with customers, is to tell stories about your jewellery.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've done tried to do quite a few webinars, and I've certainly translated this into the way we display to the symbolism of jewelry. So we've got knots, and I talk about that being a metaphor greater than the sum of its parts, and horseshoes and four-leaf clothers, and all of these things that are symbols, which, like you say, it offers so much reassurance, doesn't it, to people?
Yeah, and personalization is still quite important. Although it's very hard, you know, because obviously websites like Not on the High Street have always sort of really done that very well and very cheaply. So it's about finding a way to personalize things that isn't quite so mass produced, you know.
Yes.
And that could be a little adjustment to a piece, you know. And I've noticed that a lot. People said, oh, your whatever it is, or could I have that with just a little star? Or, you know, they brought something to it themselves. Can you combine this piece with this? And yeah, of course we can.
That's nice. Yeah. I also find the smallest things, like, you know, if we ever sell a necklace, I always want to make sure it's fitted at the right height, you know, so I sort of sit it up and down till we find that it's just, you don't just sell somebody a chain, do you? It's how you're wearing it. And I think that's where we can add so much added value
Well, you
as
bring this
jewelers.
around to the idea that, you know, because I think probably a lot of retailers are worried about online, that they feel maybe
Yeah.
they're going to lose a lot of business to online. And I personally don't think it's something to be afraid of. I think it's a
Yeah.
challenge, but as
Mm,
long as you have your own online presence and
mm,
you create that customer experience, yeah, that's what really matters. You know, people want
yeah.
to buy from you, shop with you, have that experience and feel, you know, take it back to, I mean, a lot of independent stores, people say, oh, our jewelers, our family jewelers
Yeah.
is, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what you
Yeah.
want
No,
to
that's,
be to people if you can.
yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Over this time, there's been so many challenges and yet opportunities within that. Can you talk to me a little bit more? Because I think it's fascinating. You talked about Lewis. I mean, I'm guessing that's very much a work from home. And realistically, people are not going to go back to London, are they, as much? So
Yes.
how has that been for you?
Well, I think, you know, in the it wasn't even, it started before the pandemic, actually. This drive to shop
Mm,
local has been incredible and very
yeah.
heartwarming because it felt for a long time like it was going the other way, you know, that people just
Mm,
wanted it right now, as cheap as possible. And people have started to really talk about, no, I love my town and I love my local area and I don't want it to lose all its independent shops. I want to support
mm,
you. And so one Christmas, we decided, we worked with a candle company, to give all those lovely customers a little gift of a little Christmas
oh,
scented candle. So every time
yeah.
someone said, oh, we're shopping local, we said, oh, well, we wanted to give you this little gift from us, you know.
Oh, that's so nice. Yes.
So, you know,
Yeah.
that I think anyone living in an area where people are living and working
Yes.
are in a really good position to make a lot
Yeah.
of, you
Yeah.
know, a lot out of it, you know. And I really feel for people in the city centres that is going
Yeah.
to be difficult. And
Yeah.
that that is something that, you know, because for a long time, like you said, I was like, well, we're in this small town and people always say, oh,
Yeah.
Lewis, it's so wealthy, blah blah blah. It's not. People have never
No.
really, you know, people have always been property rich and cash poor here, you know, because
Yeah.
the cost of a house here is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
people were not really spending locally. And I think that awareness of Amazon being you know, a big corporation that doesn't pay maybe all its taxes, doesn't contribute. You know,
Mm,
now you think about a local business, you think employing local people or people from a close by town paying into
mm,
local taxes, and, you know, or even taxes in this country at least. People are really more
yeah.
aware of that.
I think so, isn't it? Yeah. And I think, like you say, it's that relationship, isn't it? They want to see you, they want to come in, see your team, you know, it is about that personal connection.
Absolutely.
I love the idea of the candle. That's really nice. Have you been doing other things that are new
Um,
since pandemic?
well, the candles, we always stocked the candles before,
Right.
we never gave them away before. And I
Yeah.
think we just want, you know, you get asked for discounts sometimes, and when things are difficult, you can't always give them, and you also feel like
Mm,
you want to give everyone the right price. So it was just really
mm,
a way of responding to people, to thank them for their business without
mm,
undercutting our sales, you know, without having to give away, or you're standing next to one person who's been shopping with you for years, and then someone else asks for a discount, and it's really difficult.
yeah.
That kind of just levels it all off. Because also,
I think, yeah, when I was at Tiffany's, there was a non-discount policy, and it was so great because it meant there was a level playing field for all the staff. It wasn't, well, I'll go and get the manager or anything. There was no discount, but it actually maintained the value of the
I
jewelry. And it
agree.
says, no, this is the value. And just like you, I love the customers. I'd hate to think because one was a bit cheekier, they got the discount, whereas my favorite customer didn't. You
Yeah,
know, it's a bit
yeah,
challenge.
absolutely. And you know, so you have to try and find ways to make people feel valued as customers. The
Yes.
service you
Yeah.
give, the time you
Yeah.
spend, all that sort of thing. But just at those times, you know, it's almost like if people, I mean, because we used to put things out like chocolates, but in COVID, you can't do
Yes,
anything like that. You
no,
know, we had a
no.
lovely late night shopping event in Lewes every year where everyone in town gives out mulled wine. Couldn't do that this year. The whole thing was cancelled. So you're just trying to
Yeah,
find a way to still thank people.
yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Phil despairs with me sometimes because I give pieces away. You know, if there's a charity, if there's a
Yeah,
person, he's like, "We've got to make some money here." But it, you know, because I'm so passionate about the emotive and the symbolism about everything, it's hard to strike that balance right. But we are in the business, aren't we? We
yeah,
have to sort of remember
yeah,
that. Yeah,
and it isn't cynical also to see those things as building. You know, those are ways that you build up relationships. Like I gave
yeah,
some jewelry to a local school for always give it to a particular local school comes in, they cheekily ask me, I always give them something, and then they started buying gift vouchers for all the staff that were leaving just from me. They're like, oh, you've been
yes,
amazing, I want to
yeah,
get my gift
yeah.
vouchers from you. So, you know, it
Oh,
wasn't why I gave
that's
it,
lovely.
but I was very pleased
No,
to have their
no, it's true.
support.
It does happen indirectly, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Just thinking about support, we're here today, and it's all about the NAJ. You're a member of the Jet Business
I
Network, aren't
am,
you?
yes.
Yeah, and can you tell us how has that supported you, or how have you interacted with them?
Well, they've been amazing during this last year. They've held lots of regular meetups via Zoom, you know, with your local areas. And also Michael, who chairs the meetings, he's been available constantly.
Mm,
And personally, my father was in hospital for nearly 3 months. So I kind of
yeah,
took a big step back because my mother's vulnerable and I had to look after her.
oh,
But he still kept checking in with me. And
yeah,
you know, and I did feel like when I dipped in and out of it for my own personal circumstances, that I felt really supported, you know,
oh,
and
yeah,
any questions I've ever had or needed answers to, you know, little worries about things. And then there's all the emails and trails of conversations between people about things like how do you furlough your staff?
yeah,
Yes, and also especially this last year with the government rules change. I mean, and obviously they were going along as they and as they could, not knowing, you know, how many lockdowns we would have. So things were changing
mm,
all the time.
mm,
And so people were constantly posting, well, I've done this with my staff, or this isn't allowed. Oh, now it is allowed. You know, and that's stuff that's
yeah.
really hard to find out on your own.
There's always that reassurance there, isn't there, then with you when you've got that peer support and that network, really.
Absolutely. And actually, I went on the NAJ trip to Sri Lanka a few years ago and met.
Oh,
It
wow.
was great,
Yeah,
and I met Mark and Debbie from the jewelers in York, and I also met
yeah,
Sophie from down in my area near Chichester, and they were the ones that recommended it. They said, "Oh, you should join the JBN. You know, that's what's
yeah,
going to really help you because you can be in your own bubble so much when you're running your
yeah,
own shop.
yeah,
It's not like you're an employee and you're meeting up with other people in the jewelry trade. When you're an employer and a business owner, you can become more and more isolated."
I always describe it as being quite professionally lonely.
Yeah,
It is difficult. And that's where I think Michael has that magic touch because he has all of this phenomenal experience. But, you know, I posted something on LinkedIn about an article I'm writing about wedding rings and my own wedding rings. And he picked up that the wedding was back on and he sent me a personal
oh,
message. And I was so touched by that. And that comes from somebody who is genuine. We talked about that
yeah,
authenticity before, but he's resourceful and lovely in equal measures, isn't he?
yeah. And he, what I find difficult because I've gone from being a jewelry designer on my own
Mm,
to having two employees to having my first small shop,
yeah,
and it's grown organically. I haven't and I've always worked in this field of designer jewelry, small business, and like you said, you work for Tiffany, so you have that corporate
mm,
experience. I think that's something that JBN can give you is a real view of all different types of small business,
yeah,
from someone like me to someone with a much bigger business with a lot more staff. And you can just see how people do things. There's so much to learn from
yeah.
each other, even if what you're doing is essentially very different.
Yeah, and my experience when I've interacted with them, that it's all about collective support. So there's there's the discreet where appropriate, but the spirit is sharing for collective gain.
Yeah,
And I think that's a lovely
yeah, I
spirit.
think so.
We Yeah, oh, we're just seeing here as a fellow JBN, I absolutely agree with what's been said. It's been invaluable throughout the lockdown. This is from Ian, as well as normal times. Yeah, I think from tips, I think I've made 3 to 4 times the annual fee in extra profit. So there you go. Why wouldn't you invest in it? It's you
Yeah,
get
and
the
I think
investment.
you can see it like that. I definitely think the cost of the JBN is negligible considering what you get out of it. Absolutely, but it's much more than that. It's the value of it is just so much more. You know, you cannot put a value on the support and help of your peers. You know, it's like I was saying yesterday when I was chatting with Ben, isn't it? I was saying, you know, my staff might come to me sometimes with ideas and I listen and I do try and take it on. But sometimes it takes someone outside of your business who is your peer, who is not employed by you, and you say something, say, well, why have you done that? What are you doing that for? You know, or no, you didn't treat your staff member particularly fairly in that instance, you know, or yes, you're right about that, you know. So it's got that side to it where you can benefit from the advice of people who are your equals, and you know, that side of things it's very important.
I think that's a great one. We're running out of time, Alexis. It's been delightful to talk to
Lovely
you.
to
But
talk to you.
Is there any last word? To give you the last word, is there anything else you'd like to add?
It's dangerous to give me the last word. No, I just think keep on being authentic with your customers. I really think that, and don't be afraid of what's coming in the future. I think just spread your net, have, you know, work on your social media, work on your website. It doesn't have to be the amazing thing that you're thinking that you need in the future. Just make a start on all those things and value your customers and interact with your customers. And just keep it organic, I think. That's what I think.
Keep organic and authentic.
Yeah.
Alexis, thank you so much. I've personally just been delighted to see you again.
And you,
I
and
hope to see you in person soon and I can hug you.
and amazing that your wedding's back on. So excited for you.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, I know.
And he's that person who I work with, but I don't listen to. So perhaps I should join the JBN and
totally should.
JBN. Yeah. Thank you so much,
No
Alexis. See you soon.
Lovely to see you, Helen.
Darling. Oh, wasn't that a wonderful morning? Well, for those of you that have stayed with us, I'm hoping that we're going to have a winner of the bubbles. There we go. We know that the next session is on Thursday, the 29th of April, and we are waiting for our bubbles winner. This is somebody who's been with us throughout, who's engaged and listened and gets to share some, and she asked a brilliant question. So Jay, congratulations. Some sparkles are on the way to you, and thank you so much for your questions. Were really apt, so I hope that's been really supportive for everybody. I've had a lovely morning. We've now going to get the link in for the bubbles chat. It should appear any minute now. Oh great, we're having some nice messages from everybody. It seems like everyone's enjoyed it, so that's good. We just need to have the link for the bubbles, and there it is. So I'm going to grab a cup of tea, and I will be joining you in there very soon. Thank you to everybody. Take care and stay safe.